everyone. Welcome back to the Lion's Den and another episode in our Blue Collar Ballers series. Today, we speak with Chance Roy, who's the owner of Cajun Fencing, located in Louisiana, which I think you'll be able to discover pretty quickly once you hear his accent in this episode. Chance is a really cool guy. He and his friend ended up starting this company a very long time ago. Now, we talk about a lot of things. It's a wide-ranging conversation, but among the little tidbits that I kind of took out of the conversation, Chance was working for a different carpentry company way back before he started his fencing company. And he started to take jobs on the side. And so this is an interesting conversation and an interesting lesson in, how to not bet the farm as you go about on your entrepreneurial journey, but to sort of tiptoe into it a little bit. And then once you clearly reach a tipping point, then go full force into it. And that's exactly what Chance did. And since then, his company has evolved and shifted and changed. And so we get into a lot of that information as well. I think it's a pretty good, well-rounded conversation into, what it is to start and run a construction trade firm. So check it out. So Chance, really happy to have you on the show. I wanted to start off, if you could, kind of walking me through what got you into construction and fencing in the first place. How did this all begin for you?
Yeah, so what started was by trade, I was a carpenter. So I used to build houses, build cabinets, kind of anything in that field of work. And I did that for a couple of years, and then I actually joined the electrical field. Well, did that for a year. Decided, man, this ain't really my cup of tea. I like to see the finished product, right? And then for electrical, it's like it's all your hard work is really hidden. It's all in the walls, and then you finally flick a switch and the light comes on. Well, I started doing fence on the side on the weekends, and then started realizing, man, I'm making more money working 2 days a week than I am at my 5 day, 40+ hour job. So time went on. I started doing jobs on the side, like I said, and then kept getting busier and then busier and then busier. And then finally, I was like, I think I have enough work that I can do this full time. So took the leap of faith and and jumped right into it. Just started one day and was like, hey, I'm gonna try this thing out. And then 6 years later, we're still building fence.
Yeah. So when you were doing the carpentry, were you were like working for a different company?
Yeah, I was working for a local general contractor that builds
Okay.
a few houses a year, doing small jobs and big jobs. He do remodels. So I was
Mhm.
kind of built for it. In an instance, I already knew the trade or most of it. I thought I knew how to build a fence back then, but come to realize after building fence and talking to people around the nation, you realize how much you don't know how to build a fence.
Right. Right. Okay. Well, I mean, the story you told is a story I've kind of heard before, where you've got somebody who's working in the trades for someone else's company, basically. And then on the side, you start your own thing, but it's not like you're taking a massive risk because you're still keeping your job while you sort of dabble and test things out and whatever. And then as you like figure it all out, then you take that leap of faith, like you said. And so it's not that risky, which I think is really smart. I've seen a lot of people do it that way. I think that's really smart. Did these other projects you were taking on the side, did it ever get in the way of your job when you were working for that GC?
You end up being on your phone, right? So everybody's contacting you, right?
Mm-hmm.
During the middle of the day. So you playing or you get caught up on your phone or you playing on your phone, trying to do an estimate, right? You're trying to do an estimate in the middle of a day. Um, which is one, you're not giving attention to the estimate enough, right? Because you're trying to do two things at one time. So I've had times where, I messed up the footage, right? I messed up the footage. I gave the wrong price, or
Mm-hmm.
maybe getting fussed by the boss, even things like that is what really where the problems come the most. Because it's like, well, or you wait till after 5 to do the estimates.
Right.
Or so you start messaging people after 5 or 6 or 7 o'clock, like, hey, are we good to go? Is this correct? Or, anything like that.
Yeah, it gets tricky. What about you mentioned you were doing one or two, fence projects and then it started to become more and more. How were you finding those initial customers? How did you do that?
So what worked into my advantage is I lived in a subdivision. It was probably
Mm,
one of the biggest subdivisions in my area. It was like 400 homes, 300 to 400 homes. So I was getting on there, the Facebook HOA page. Hey,
mm,
guy in the subdivision doing fence. If y'all need any fence work, kind of used that to my advantage, and it worked out. A lot of I think my first 10 jobs were in that subdivision. So that kind of, and then after that, it was really Facebook. I jumped on the Facebook, started advertising the work, free advertising. You always have to use that, and then word of mouth. You do good work. You're a good guy. It kind of speaks for itself.
That is an interesting. So you kind of lucked into the fact that you were in this big neighborhood and you can get on the Facebook page. But now you're making me think: do fence companies ever, or do any of these construction companies ever just like try to find people in big neighborhoods and pay them to post something within like their neighborhood's HOA, Facebook group page? Because that's actually kind of a genius marketing strategy. Now that you mention it.
I don't know about that, but I do think that is a good idea. But I do see people not in the subdivision before, like, or here. Hey, he's not even in the subdivision, and he's in the HOA page posting. Or you
Yeah.
even have like local people, like for instance, we have a community page in Carencro. Like he's not even from Carencro, but they in that page posting. So
Yeah.
I mean, it's definitely a tool, but you have to kind of use it the right way.
Yeah. Makes sense. Okay, so let's go back in time to when you take that leap of faith. Like you said, you start your company. Did you immediately name it Cajun?
No, actually, it was like a carpentry, like a cutting edge carpentry.
Okay.
So I was like, At the time, I was kind of doing it all. It wasn't just fence until
Mm,
it was when I wanted to standardize. I was like, I need to
mhm.
focus on one thing because these estimates were getting outrageous of like how custom things can be and too
Yeah.
time consuming. So at the time, I was just like, let me focus on one thing, let me perfect one thing, and then once I was decided I'm gonna just do fence, I was like, well, I don't want carpentry to be involved because people could be still hitting, calling me for other things besides fence. So that's when I kind of changed, rebranded into Cajun Fencing, and that way it could be more, standardized to just fencing.
Yeah. And how big were you revenue wise when you made that shift?
Man, I probably wasn't even doing gross revenue. Man, probably not even 100 grand.
Oh,
It
really? So
was,
you did
yeah,
that way early on. Okay.
way early. It was probably 6 months, 8 months. What
Okay.
wasn't It was super early, thankfully,
Yeah.
Um, but I knew I didn't want to do remodels or anything
Mm,
like that. It's just too many tools, too many. It's just too custom of work, and
yeah.
so I knew that was not a direction I wanted to go.
Well, that was smart because a lot of people in all businesses, not even just trades, they try to say yes to whatever customer they can just to grow and get that revenue increasing. But you say yes to too many people. Now you're customizing everything. You're doing too many things. And then a lot of people, they end up at a place where they hit a ceiling and they're like, oh my God, my life is chaotic. I have to keep hiring people with these different specializations. And now I've got to manage these employees and that's getting annoying. And I'm constantly doing crazy estimates. And so then they reach a point where they shave everything off. They like trim the fat and then they focus in. And sometimes they're, a couple $1 million in revenue at that point each year. And it just becomes really hard. So props to you for doing it way up front. That's awesome.
Yeah, thankfully I don't have like now we have like 3 wrap trucks, and if you start branding your trucks, and then all of a sudden you have to rebrand. I mean, one of our last quotes for our trucks was like 2,300 bucks to wrap our truck. So I mean, you
Hmm.
could really start tossing some money out the window.
Yeah. Were you in the early days? I'm assuming you were doing everything. You were doing the marketing, you were doing the quotes, you were then doing the install. That's my guess. Correct me if I'm wrong. But then, like, as you grew, how did that shift? Who did you kind of like bring onto the team first and take things off your plate?
So when I decided, when the work started coming in and I couldn't really keep up as a one man show, um, I brought in Drew, or which is now our salesman.
Hmm.
And Drew, he got laid off from the off field, so he came up to me and was like, "Hey man, do you have enough work to work me?" And I'm like, I think my words exactly were, man, I have no idea, but we can try. You know, he's a good friend of mine. We've been friends for a long time. He's the best man in my wedding. So I was like, look,
Hmm.
we're gonna try. I was like, what you need a day? And he was like, told me a number, and I'm like, yeah, I think, bro. And so we started. That's when I brought my first guy in, and then as we grew, um, we knew what he specialized in, and we knew what I specialized in. And thankfully, it was two different traits. Drew's the kind of guy that's like very likable. Everybody loves Drew. Um, you know, so that's kind of why he took the sales role. And I'm more of like your stern, visionary type of already know the field, been in the field for a few years, so knew how to do the work. So I just started doing the work. He started sales, and then
Hmm.
we started hiring guys to replace him because he needed to be a full time salesman. So and then as we grew, we ended up getting some very large jobs, and Drew ended up buying in. So he's
Hmm.
actually a partner of mine now.
Okay. And how's that going? Has it been fun working with your friend?
It's been, honestly, we have been so blessed, and we hear so many horror stories or so many people saying never a partnership, never, no, no. And then I'm like, bro, y'all just didn't meet the right people.
Yeah.
It's all about, you have to be the same person, but also have differentiators from each other. You have to be different. You have to be different from each other, but also the same person. Have the same maybe core values, but different skills.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So that you're not one another's boss. You can sort of
Right.
silo it a little bit.
Yeah.
Well, also, I think there are a lot of friends out there and family too, because a lot of people say don't go into business with your family. And just so you know, I'm in business with my family and my friends as well at my firm. Um, I think there are a lot of family and friends out there who don't speak like brutally honest to one another. You know, they're sort of trying to be polite, trying to be nice, keep everything copacetic. And in business, you have to tell the truth. You have to look at the numbers and you have to say, we're really good here, we're terrible here, right? Like we need to fix this. And you have to have an honest conversation about that. So, is that your experience too?
Oh, without a doubt. And also, you have to be, I mean, especially when you're trying to grow a company, you have to be a workhorse. You got to show up
Mm,
every day, whether it rains or not. You have to show up, and that goes back to the core value thing. Like we both knew hard work, whether his hard work, whether it be sitting at a desk or my hard work in the field. We both knew, hey, we got to show. It starts with showing up.
yeah.
That's the first
Yeah.
step. Every day is to show up to work, and I think that's just played the part. You just you grow from there, or you learn from there.
Yeah. Agreed. So what do you guys focus on Cajun fencing? I mean, are you like all residential, a little bit of commercial? Do you sell materials to DIYers? What do you guys do?
So we focus. We are about 60-40 right now. Residential being are more installs, but commercial is like growing and growing pretty fast.
Hmm.
But we like the mix of it.
Hmm.
We like
Hmm.
both because you get your residential clients is more like your mailbox money, you get paid fast, whereas commercial we've done waited 120 days for big payouts.
Yeah.
We do sell material as well. That's one of our goals this year, to grow in that field of
Hmm.
retail sales. It's a We didn't want to go too fast into that because it's a beast, with the
Hmm.
software, the spreadsheets, the transactions, so many transactions. I mean, you could have a transaction legit for $1, you know.
Yeah.
So we kind of just slowly moving into that market.
Got it. With the commercial stuff, how have you been moving into that? Did you get some like big partnerships or how do you do that?
So our goal was this year for Drew to try to bring on, I think we said 5 new construction contractors.
Mm,
So he went out in our first Q1, bring donuts, bring lunch, take somebody out to lunch, just try to create a relationship.
mhm,
Also, we joined more softwares where you can be invited to bids.
mm,
One of them's like Builder Connect. They send you just put your email, and they'll send you a plan, and you just bid it. No
mhm.
face to face really interaction at all with that. Um, so that was two things we wanted to for sure, you know, set as a goal for this year. And I think we've grown more than 5 contractors. I think we're right under 10. We've already met. So and some of them we've actually won or been awarded jobs with. So
Wow, that's awesome. Okay. What were some of your other goals? So that's kind of like a, growth revenue, headcount goal. What about have you guys been doing anything interesting like on the marketing angle? Like how do you get your name out there?
we actually switched website SEO companies. So super
Hmm.
excited about that. He just finished our new website. I think it launched not even a month ago. So that
Mm,
was one thing we swapped up. Also, we've been donate. Well, yeah, it is a donate sponsoring football fields. So we've
mm,
been trying to get signs, football and baseball signs to any and every local high school that we can. So I think we put up 4 signs now, um, and any fence, mostly in the commercial field, any fence that has like a good like a view, maybe a street side view, or we've been just asking them like, hey, can we put a 4x8 sign on your fence? Is that a problem? We'll pay even. We'll pay an annual fee if that's a problem. And most of them are like, no, man, just slap you a fence sign on it. It's fine. We have one person actually charged for it. So, and understandably so, right? I mean,
yeah.
but yeah, we just kind of always thinking like, man, where can we put it? How can we get our name out?
Yeah, that's really cool. Did you guys play sports growing up? The
Yep,
football,
I was
baseball
literally in
angle.
every sport. Yeah, I was baseball, football, and basketball even. So now we're big into golf. We're like full force into golf.
Okay, I was going to ask because now you're old, so you can't play those
Yeah.
sports anymore.
So now all we play is golf.
Pickleball is pretty big. We've got a court like right by our place, and we play all the time. It's actually very fun. Very
I
fun.
see it, and people get very competitive. I didn't pick up that sport yet.
Okay, it's pretty easy. I mean, it's basically ping pong, but on a bigger
Yeah.
stage, and it's honestly easier than ping pong and easier than tennis. Kind of,
Yeah.
it's right in the middle there. Um, okay, so that a little bit of you do some interesting marketing stuff. We talked about growth goals. What about like internal efficiency? Like how big of a focus has that been for you over the years? Did you ever reach a point where things were getting crazy and you just had to do something new, a new process, a new tool, something like that?
So I think last year, which would be like year 5, we really want to dig down into efficiency.
Mm-hmm.
So we outgrew our last building we were in. It just didn't have the yardage, the amount of square foot acreage to do what I visioned. So we bought a piece of property already with a shop on it, and it was 6 acres of land. We only operate on probably about two, but what we do now is every job that we have might have 5 jobs for the week. Every single job is pulled and ready for the crews to pull up on the side and load it. So
Mm-hmm.
that was one of our big goals. We wanted the jobs to be ready before the guys get there. So we brought in. We already had the shop guy. So we decided, hey, you're gonna pull the jobs and get them ready for the next say 2 weeks ish. Hopefully, in a perfect world, next 2 weeks. That way,
Mm-hmm.
they ready. The guys pull up, load in. Hopefully, in a perfect world, 30 minutes they in and out
Mm-hmm.
and off to the job.
Nice. Nice. Okay. What software tools do you guys use internally?
So our software is we use, well, of course, QuickBooks, and then we
Mhm.
use connected teams.
Okay.
That's what connects all the management to the field guys, shop guys, foremen. It connects everybody. and then we also use company cam. Company
Okay.
cam allows us to take pictures, and the shop guy sees the pictures, and then he pulls all the um, like the material list, the takeoffs,
Mhm.
and that's where he pulls it and sets it in the field, all
Nice.
staged. Yep.
Okay. Cool. So you guys are pretty efficient. What I'm curious. Last kind of line of questioning, and then we can start to wrap things up. So I'm always curious about the leadership side of things. You know, you were a carpenter working for somebody else's company, and then you ended up starting your own and doing all the work. And slowly but surely, you've hired people and you've grown your business, and now you are a leader of your company, right? You actually manage people. What has that transition been like for you? Has it been easy? Has it been hard? Have you sort of developed like a philosophy around how you treat your employees? How has all of that developed for you over time?
So leadership was it's kind of hard for me because I'm a very self motivated guy. So
Hmm.
it was always hard for me to motivate others because I was always like, you don't have to motivate me. I'm motivated, right? So I never understood or maybe looked at it through somebody else's eyes that maybe, I don't know, isn't as motivated as the next guy. So to branch off of that, I kind of had to sit back and wonder, like, where can I get better?
Hmm.
So kind of where I'm going with this is as my leadership, we always one of our core values is always puts another person first. Always, whether
Hmm.
it's a customer, employee, just make sure they know we care, you know. And so what I did was I tried to enforce that core value on everybody, right?
Hmm.
Um, so it's been a pretty because I have 8 guys. So we have 8 guys, 9 guys, one guy's part time to really motivate and to realize, hey, we are in it together for one common goal, right? It's not a competition. It's not who's better than the other. It's hey, we're a team, and we have one common goal to go out there and deliver the best possible fence we can, you know. And that's when we started with Monday meet. We have a meeting every Monday, and that's
Hmm.
kind of when we talk about it might be something motivational, it might be something analytic, it might be whatever the topic may be. You always end it with like, hey, I appreciate y'all guys, y'all, just something like in a careful manner, like knowing that so they know that I truly do care about them.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because remember, I mean, when you started out at the carpentry firm, I mean, you were a motivated person to do extra work for yourself outside of your job. So it's always tricky. It's like, how does somebody stay motivated to work for someone else? That's always the tricky piece. And I think you're totally right. A lot of people, it's not about career advancement so much. It's about like community and inclusivity. And so that's something it sounds like you're really focusing on for any of your employees that are focused on that, to make sure that they feel that, and that'll give them like the passion to work for your business, which I think makes sense.
Right. And it takes a lot of one-on-ones, right? Because like you said, some people do want advancement. Well, some people just want a job. They just want to come
Mm-hmm.
to work with a stable job, work and then go home. So you
Yeah.
really have to balance on which ones would, and they have to know the direction of the company too, right? Are we growing? Are we staying still? Are we going? Are we losing? Right? Are we losing money? Are we going back? So
Mm-hmm.
they know the numbers. We are pretty open with all the guys in the Monday meetings. Like, hey man, we grew 70% from last year. 70%. Like, hey, I couldn't go and install 250 fences a year. There's no way I could do that. We wouldn't have grown 70% without y'all,
Yeah.
and and to give back. We have like the Christmas parties. We have the quarterly one awards. We give out most improvement awards. We we give out vacation days. We do holiday pay. That's all things to give back to the guys for their hard work too. You know.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. Awesome. Well, a lot of good stuff. Thank you, Chance, for joining me. Really appreciate all the wisdom and the experience you shared with us. Thanks for joining me in the Lion's Den.
Hey, it was a good time. Thank you.